Hi, I'm Dean. This video is about sleep and how it relates to things such as depression and anxiety, for examples. First, imagine that we have three bodies, a physical body, a mental body, and emotional body. Now, within the physical body, we have the brain, and within the brain, we have thoughts in the mental body, and feelings in the emotional body. So that's how the three kind of correlate with each other. Um, in the brain, on the physical side of things, we have neurotransmitters, and I'm going to talk about really two neurotransmitters at the moment, which is serotonin and melatonin. On the thought side of things, again correlating with the neurotransmitters, with a lot of serotonin we can have positive thoughts, and when melatonin's doing its job we can have a lot fewer thoughts, because the serotonin will help us feel happy and the melatonin will help us feel sleepy. Now, in the cases of things such as depression and anxiety, you find a lack of some of these neurotransmitters. So serotonin, a lack of serotonin is going to promote depression. And with this, you find that you end up having a lot of negative thoughts about your past events, and a lot of that is repetitive kind of thinking. And on the emotional side of things, you can have low motivation and fatigue, a feeling of lowness, which is kind of where depression gets its name, really. Anxiety, that's related to low serotonin and low dopamine, which we won't really go into much at the moment, but that can be more about negative future events and can promote restlessness, as well as a bit of crossover with the two. They're kind of related in a bit of a way. Now we'll talk about sleeplessness. Sleeplessness, a big factor there is low melatonin, and you can end up having too many thoughts at night, and that's what keeps a lot of people awake and preventing sleep. And restlessness again is a kind of a symptom of these neurotransmitters not working. So the general thing that I'm illustrating here is that on the physical side of things, you have the brain, you have the neurotransmitter chemicals, and you have higher and lower levels of these that are linked to your mental body, which you're looking at altered thoughts. You can have lots of thoughts, fewer thoughts, more positive thoughts, more negative thoughts, future thoughts, past thoughts, that type of thing. There seems to be a direct connection with the brain chemistry and the types of thoughts and the frequency of thoughts that we're having. Now, because of these two things, we find that the emotional body is also affected. So your mood's going to be changing as a result of your thoughts and as a result of your brain chemistry. Now, it's hard to identify exactly where something starts. You might find that you have a negative thought, and that might promote a negative emotion, and then that might promote differences in your brain chemistry. Or you might find you have a difference in brain chemistry, and then that can promote a lower mood, and then with the lower mood you start having more obsessive negative types of thoughts. So it can change from the actual source of the thing, but what is quite clear is that it's connected. So you find that if you've got a problem in one particular area and you resolve that problem, then the problem can actually be fixed in the other two areas. And to take a holistic approach on your healing, you're basically looking at treating all three bodies, all three kind of areas of yourself for that one particular thing. What we find in mainstream medicine is that they tend to only treat one of the three areas, and true healing doesn't always happen. So basically you'll go to a doctor and a doctor will prescribe medication, and the medication will be helping to regulate how your neurotransmitters are working. And in a lot of cases, if you've got a lack of serotonin, for example, there will be medication which will basically be altering the way that your brain uses the serotonin that you have. So if you've got a limited amount, it'll start altering your neurons and the receptors, which are exchanging these little chemicals for the electrical signals and stuff to communicate. It changes the way that your cells are actually working in conjunction with your chemical. So it's kind of like utilizing it more efficiently. But they tend to skip over the fact that you've got low serotonin in the first place. Why is that? What's causing that? And how can you make changes to actually increase the serotonin that you have, rather than just looking at ways to make it more efficient and utilize what you've got. So in a lot of cases, it's you know, a lot of things that are really simple and straightforward are completely overlooked when you see your doctor. As for your thoughts, you can go to counseling and you can go to a psychologist, and you can start talking about your thoughts and talking about how that's working with your mood and how that's working with your medication that you're taking. So often the two are kind of complementary. So if you do have a good doctor, you may be referred to a psychologist or counsellor, and that can work in conjunction with your treatment. And you may not need medication, you may not need antidepressants or anything like that, if you're working on your thoughts, which can be pretty cool. I'm not too sure what happens on the emotional side of things with the mainstream. That may be overlooked, or some of the watchers here may have some input there, but I can't really think of anything that the mainstream does to help with our emotional body, unless it's really part of the counselling process. Now, with these related, I've boiled down that a lot of it's actually to do with our sleep, because of our sleep cycle. We have a sleep cycle where at night time we start producing more melatonin, and in the morning we start producing more serotonin. Now, what we really ultimately want is having lots of serotonin during the day. If you know a little bit about serotonin, I only know a little bit about it, it's a happy thing. It makes you feel good. It gives you energy and alertness, and you know, it's quite uppy, quite a cool thing. So trying to incorporate and bring in a lot of serotonin into your day, I believe is paramount with your healing, with looking at treating things such as depression and anxiety. Surely that makes a bit of sense. Now, when we're not sleeping right, when we're going to bed too late and sleeping in and that sort of thing, we're messing with the natural cycles of the kind of day and night, our sleep routine. And it's basically inevitable that our brain chemicals aren't going to be working right. And that can create kind of like a vicious cycle. So we have the light and the dark cycle, right? Now, the way it works is when it's sunlight, when it's light outside, when you've got a lot of bright lights around you, your pineal gland is picking up on this, it's sensing all the photons, and it starts kind of kicking in a mechanism which will start creating serotonin. So during the day, when you've got sunrise coming up, like it can sense, obviously it can kind of, the photons can penetrate through your scalp, and through your eyes as well. So if you're seeing something that's light, even if it's light outside and it's dark inside, your body still knows that that there's light there. So basically at dawn you start generating some of the serotonin. And when the light's gone, at the end of the day, after sunset, after an hour or two, you start creating a lot more melatonin. And the melatonin will help you get to sleep. It gives you a sleepy feeling. So you'll probably notice that, you know, in a lot of cases it's around kind of between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. at night that you start yawning. And that's the sign that melatonin started. And that's the time you need to go to bed. Now, a lot of people don't go to bed at the time that their body, not really the clock time, but at the time of day that your body is wanting you to, which is what's natural, and stay up a little bit later than that, and give it another hour or so from when you start yawning. And then your body kind of realizes that, hey, you know, I'm not going to be going to sleep right now. So it starts generating other chemicals, I think like adrenaline sort of things, to keep you awake, because it's kind of cottoned on to the fact that you actually don't want to go to bed anymore. So you're starting to run a bit more adrenaline through, and you get like a bit of a second wind, and basically you're not tired anymore. You're not really yawning or anything like that. And then, you know, before you know it, it's 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and you're actually kind of energized and not really that tired anymore. And you go to bed and you can't really relax. And then you've got a lot of thoughts and things you're thinking about, you know, past events, future events, that sort of thing. And you end up having to try and force yourself to sleep. And then you can end up taking sleeping pills and that sort of thing. And then the sleeping pills will be working in the way that you're starting to mess with your neurotransmitters. So you're throwing the balance out of nature and trying to artificially utilize your brain chemicals again. And then by the time morning comes, you're really, really tired because you haven't really been resting during that period of time overnight where everything is still and dark and everything shuts down. So you haven't really done the healing work that your body needs to do during the day as well, or during the night from the day's damage. So come kind of, you know, 5 in the morning, that sort of thing, you get the shot of serotonin, and you're not really getting a good kick because you've been thrown out of balance. So it's hard to wake up. So you might have your alarm clock go off at 6 o'clock or something like that, and in a lot of cases it'll be interrupting one of your sleep cycles, which is another thing to look into, is trying to be in alignment with the natural sleep cycles that you have, which can vary from kind of 2.5 to 3.5, 4 hours per cycle. So you end up waking up in the morning and you're really tired and you didn't really feel like you've had a rest. And it basically screws up your whole day because you've still got melatonin in your system. You know, it cottoned on to the fact that you want to sleep. So it's been running the melatonin, and the serotonin hasn't really been kicking in because it's all confused and scrambled. So you basically find yourself going to bed after 12, and then you end up either wanting to sleep until 10 or 11 in the morning, or you're waking up to go to work or school or something at 7, and finding you need, quote unquote need, other chemicals like you know, coffee, caffeine, or energy drinks or something like that to give you a kickstart, to give you more energy, which is more artificial chemicals, which again is kind of caused by the sleep cycle not really working kind of right. So sleep is the big part of it, is light and dark, and to encourage that, you need to get out into the sun. So we have sunlight. Now sunlight is so important for a number of reasons, and there are things like vitamin D that you get from it. And the other thing is, when you're outside, you're breathing in fresh air. had a deja vu of doing this actually. That's pretty cool. So you're breathing in fresh air. So you're outside in the sun, you're breathing in fresh air, you're being a little bit more mindful, and you're opening up your lungs and that sort of thing. So these things are going to be creating serotonin for you during the day. Now, another thing that you can do while you're outside is exercising. Alright, so these things you can do all at the same time. Get outside into the sunlight, do something physical, going for a walk, or a run or a jog or something like that, or any type of exercise, and gets the body flowing, gets everything kind of happening. And the other thing is grounding. Alright, seriously, the barefoot thing totally works. It can change your life, just being barefoot outside or inside. Just be barefoot as much as you can. We need to basically be earthing our static, call it that. And we get a build-up of the static energy or static electricity during the day. So we need to be kind of touching the ground to connect back to that. So that's it's quite an interesting kind of a topic in itself. So that's another thing to look into. So I'm hoping that you'll do some research yourselves and look into these things that I'm summarizing. Another thing is laughter. Alright, do something each day that's funny, whether it be just, I don't know, watching a funny TV show, or checking out a joke website, or just being silly, doing something absolutely stupid, anything that's going to make you laugh. And I really don't draw a line there as far as recommendations go. If you think kicking somebody in the nuts or something's going to make you laugh, then do that. If that's what you need to make yourself laugh, then just do that, whatever it is. There'll be obviously repercussions for that, but if you laugh, at least you've got the serotonin going through. And then the last thing really is food. Right, this food thing is something that you'll find a doctor will usually ignore completely. And there are loads and loads of different foods that help your serotonin. Basically, you're looking for something that's got tryptophan in it, and there's a number of different varieties of food. It's really high in certain nuts and seeds, certain meats as well, like salmon and turkey are pretty high. So there's a number of foods which are really, really good. I myself add things like mustard powder to a lot of my meals and that sort of thing, because that's pretty high as well. So do some research again on what type of foods that you can eat that are going to kind of create this. Another thing is oats. Like myself, I have oats for breakfast every day. So that gives a kind of a sustainable level of some of these chemicals. If you do need a sleeping pill, something called 5-HTP is actually quite useful. May not see that down that far. Now 5-HTP is basically a plant derivative herbal supplement, and it's the basic building block for pretty much all of your brain chemicals and neurotransmitters. So if you've got that ingredient in your body, which you're getting from all those foods that I was talking about as well, if you've got those ingredients in your body, then your body has the building blocks that it needs to make more serotonin. So this is what's kind of, as I said before, this is what's kind of missed with a lot of the mainstream quote-unquote treatments, not looking at the fact that you don't have the serotonin there in the first place. And so trying to create more serotonin is a much smarter and seemingly more logical way to treat something like that. The last thing I'll talk about really is your bedtime routine. This is something that I've spent a great deal of time practicing and researching. And there's a number of things that kind of all packaged together in a nighttime bedtime routine, which are all helpful to start giving you a really good kick of melatonin. So you would have done all these things during the day. You would have been out in the sun, you would have been doing some exercise and eating really well. Now, when it starts getting dark at night, and that changes in different times of year, so your bedtime needs to change with the seasons. So you might find yourself needing to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night in the middle of winter and sleeping through till 7 in the morning in the middle of winter. And you might find in summertime you need to be going to sleep at about 10 o'clock at night, and you find yourself waking up about 6 in the morning. Now, this is perfectly natural, right? We should be sleeping more during winter and sleeping less during summer. In the seasons, our body's needs are very different. We eat different foods in the different seasons as well. You know, really only what's in season locally as far as food goes is the type of food that your body needs for that particular time of year. So we don't really need to be eating a lot of fruit and berries during winter, and we don't really need to be eating a lot of root vegetables during summer, for example. Now, so I'm not saying this is the actual time that you should be going to bed at night. So we're basically looking at sunset, and sunset can be from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. generally, and basically within about 2 hours of that will be the time that it would be ideal for going to bed, roughly. So from about the sunset time, that would be when you'd be eating your evening meal, and your evening meal will be the last thing that you're going to be eating. After your meal, give it half an hour or something like that, and maybe have some water or perhaps some herbal tea, like a sleep type of tea with some chamomile or something like that in it. But that's it. Okay, so after sunset, you have your meal, have a little bit of drink after that, and that's it. Don't put anything more in your body. Let your body process that, and don't add anything to it anytime between in the last hour and a half or so before you go to bed. And the next thing is keep the lights as dull, as dim as you possibly can. Try and avoid being on the computer because that's quite bright. That can mess up your brain chemicals. And if you can, reduce the wattage of your light bulbs in the house, or go by candlelight, or I've got a lamp. You can't really see that here. Right, so I've got a salt lamp thing, and that one lamp lights up this whole room perfectly at night time, and I really don't need anything else. I do have a candle that I burn, but the light bulbs just aren't used, and that's a really important part of it. And the other thing is brain stimulation. Try and slow down the stimulus. You don't really want to be watching your comedy shows on TV at 9 or 10 o'clock at night before bed. Partly because it's stimulating, partly because it's bright lights, and partly because you're going to be laughing, and that's going to be creating serotonin, which is going to be counterproductive for your sleep routine. So do things that are relaxing, and relax your body. Sit on the couch and don't be too active and that sort of thing. Try and keep everything as quiet as you can. And for the process of about an hour and a half after you finish eating and drinking, that's your shutdown process. Take it nice and easy. Don't do anything too stimulating or challenging. Then you'll find yourself yawning about an hour after that. And once you've started yawning, that's it. A good thing to do is go and have a hot shower. It is better to have a hot shower at night time than in the morning, because a hot shower will help you get to sleep as well. So that's one thing that you can do. What are other things that you can do in that time? had something, but that was about it really. Yeah, basically once you've started yawning, I said have a shower. You'll be ready for bed. You know, have a routine, have an actual routine, a sequence of events that you follow every night, so that your body knows that once you start the sequence, whether it be, you know, preparing your clothes for tomorrow, do something like ritualistic. Once your body sees that you've started this process, it'll start its own process. So you're kind of working in conjunction with your body and being in the process, rather than just going, oh, okay, it's 10 o'clock, it's time for bed, and then walking to the bedroom. Of course, emptying your bladder right before bed is really important. Even if you don't need to go, try and go. That will help you sleep as well. And then don't have your room too warm. You know, you do sleep better if the air temperature is a bit cooler in your room. Alright, so those are basically a lot of my tips for the sleep-wake cycle. If you can manage to organize your sleep-wake cycle like that sort of a way, you will find issues like too many thoughts and negative thoughts and depression and anxiety would actually just disappear. You wouldn't need to work on them, and you wouldn't really need to treat them. Another thing I was going to say is a lot of people think that they are night people. There's no such thing as a night person. That's a fiction. If you think you're a night person, it basically means that you're going to sleep too late and you're kicking in your adrenaline sort of chemicals, and you're messing up your sleep system. So this applies with everyone, for absolutely every person. Try the bedtime routine like that for 1 week. Just try it for 1 week. Every single night, follow the same sort of routine, and you will notice that you're a lot more alert and awake in the mornings, and you're more energized during the day, and you're going to be feeling happier and healthier. This is a significant thing for your health, and this advice is totally free. You know, doctors aren't really going to be teaching this sort of thing. There's no money in it. But it's basically the prevention and the remedy for quite a lot of different illnesses and ailments and that sort of thing. So as I said, do your own research, check out all those keywords and that sort of thing, and you know, if it does work for you, please let me know. Put a comment down below, and tell your story, because I'd like to be able to share that sort of information with other people. You know, I'm making this video because I know that it's worked. I know that this type of advice has helped a bunch of people that I've been helping and working with over the last few years. So I would very much like to hear your success stories as well. Alright, please subscribe as well to new videos that I've got coming through, and I'll keep you up to date with any more insights and epiphanies and lessons and that sort of thing. So thanks for listening.